Hey everyone, welcome back to the Teachers Boost channel. In today's video, I want to chat about growing bundles. I think it's a pretty interesting concept, and there are quite a few different pros and cons for us as sellers that I think we can dive into. So I'm really excited to dig into that a little bit, but I'm mostly excited to speak about a bit of psychology behind something like a growing bundle. So it's an area that I've been exploring and researching because I think that understanding how the brain reacts to things like sales, discounts, and promotions is pretty interesting for me as a seller to understand. Okay, so starting off with the basics, what is a growing bundle? In simple terms, a growing bundle is a product that you sell right now with the promise that you will add more resources to it later. So the price that you charge will typically be much lower when you first list it and then increase every time you add a new resource. So any buyer that purchased the bundle at the lower original price gets all the future updates and all the future resources essentially for free. They just have to re-download the file and then boom, they've got new stuff. Off the bat, that sounds pretty great for a buyer, but as a seller, I'm kind of wondering, how do I benefit from this? Where's my good deal in all of this? Which brings us to the first point, and that is the benefits or the pros of a growing bundle for us as sellers. Firstly is upfront income and sales. So we get to generate sales and income early on, even before the product line is completely finished. That lower initial price and the promise of the free future resources is pretty irresistible for buyers. So we benefit from that upfront sale. Next, it encourages completion. So setting a public release schedule, like new resource added on the 15th of every month, that gives us a commitment deadline, which can help keep us motivated and keep us on track to complete big product lines, especially when they are super big product lines. Lastly is the increased visibility. Every time that you update the bundle, it bumps up the value of that bundle, and then it keeps showing up on the buyer's page in their recently updated section. So that kind of keeps our products and our name at the forefront of their minds, which essentially encourages traffic. All sounds pretty good so far, but let's take a look at the responsibilities because growing bundles are a serious commitment. TPT is very clear on the expectations, and you want to keep TPT happy, but mostly you want to keep your buyers happy. So, first of all, we have to be 100% clear. We need to state clearly in our titles, in our covers, in our product descriptions that the bundle is incomplete. We also need to provide a very clear timeline for when the next resource will be added or when the bundle will be completed. And we have to stick to that timeline. That's the hard part. If you miss an upload date, then TPT states in their I think it was in their FAQs or their blog or wherever I had read it, that if you miss an upload date, they may issue a refund to the buyers, which is obviously not very good for your earnings, but it's also really bad for your seller reputation. So, all in all, stick to the timeline or deal with the consequences, which is not ideal. If you are up for this responsibility, then I think a growing bundle can be a great addition to your store. And I'll tell you why I think this. So, I want to dive into the psychology behind something like a growing bundle. I'm not a psychologist. This is just based off the research that I have seen, but it's a pretty unfamiliar topic to me, but I'll try give you what I found. The first factor is something called loss aversion. Loss aversion is the idea that people are more motivated to avoid a loss than they are to acquire again. So a growing bundle uses the price increase structure to trigger loss aversion in buyers. What I mean is that the buyer knows that the price will go up in the future when new content is added, and they know that if they wait and buy it later, they will essentially end up losing more money, which we as humans naturally want to avoid. The next factor is something called perceived value, and it's how valuable a product is seen as by the buyer. So both regular bundles and growing bundles naturally increase this perceived value of a purchase because the discount makes the bundle feel like a massive win. But the difference here between a regular bundle and a growing bundle is that a growing bundle constantly triggers this feeling because every time a resource is added, the product immediately seems more valuable to the buyer. So their perceived value is constantly increasing as you are updating the bundle. And then the next factor, and potentially the most important factor, I think, is decision fatigue. So decision fatigue is basically just being fed up with making decisions. And it's definitely something that teachers and buyers and actually everyone experiences. But for teachers and buyers, the platform is so loaded with options on TPT that they have to spend a decent amount of time sifting through all of it, which adds to this decision fatigue. So a growing bundle acts as a solution to a recurring problem that buyers experience. Instead of having to go through the entire TPT platform every week or every month searching for, let's say, math worksheets, a growing bundle will just deliver it straight to them every week or every month, and it just takes away that process. You can imagine that maybe a busy teacher who is just drowning in admin doesn't really have time to browse through TPT and would definitely benefit from this. Last but not least is something called price anchoring. Price anchoring is a classic marketing tactic. It's just that your brain latches onto the first piece of pricing information that you see and then uses that to judge all future prices. So, for example, when a buyer sees that the end price of a growing bundle will be $40, but the current price is only $20, then their brain anchors onto that high number and it makes the current price feel so tiny. So that's what sets off all those math calculations like, okay, yeah, $20 feels expensive, but when I compare it to $40, it's actually nothing. And I'm saving so much money. And how many coffees can I buy with that money that I'm saving? And it just kind of sets off this thought process. So it ends up feeling like a massive win for buyers. They might even feel like they have successfully beat the system here, which is probably a very good feeling. And I think that's why something like a growing bundle can work so well in theory. Okay, so that is all on this topic for today. I hope that you learned something new with me, and I'll be back next week with a new video for TPT sellers. If you haven't already signed up for our free weekly newsletter, then you can do that now and just following the link in our description. And that's where I send the top 10 trending keywords every week for free. So I think it's a pretty good way to receive keywords. I am wishing you all the best for the upcoming week. I hope it's super productive. I hope it is very successful, and I will see you here next week. Bye.